This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour two, Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. If you missed any of the first hour of the program or any day of the show, remember Money Moves is also always available in podcast form wherever you get your podcast. Just listen on your own time. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to dive into some prop betting angles for Conference Championship weekend. Jeff Erickson of RotoWire is going to join us. We'll also go through each game of the NBA card we have upcoming, best bets at the end of the hour. And I do want to kick off talking a little Conference Championship weekend. The first game, Patriots traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. The biggest unknown of the weekend, of course, how Broncos backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham is going to perform. Yet we are seeing a lot of support for this Broncos team. Yesterday when we were on the air, there were still a couple of 5.5s available for them. They are gone now. It is now New England minus 4.5 across the board.
Yeah, and I don't think you're crying that much over missing out if you didn't get 5.5. As we say 1,000 times over, 5.5 a dead number, blah, 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 you know the deal. So this is one where if you're not in yet, I don't think you're missing out much on getting 4.5. Not very key. So I did add on, and I jumped into the pool with the Denver Broncos today, catching 4.5 against the New England Patriots. I believe, to an extent, in Jarrett Stidham.
And so does head coach Sean Payton. And listening through the
does he? I didn't hear that at all.
Media availability yesterday. I mean, every time he's been on the mic, he's basically been singing Jarrett Stidham's praises. But something he said yesterday was pretty interesting. Take a listen to just how confident he feels about his backup quarterback.
He's going to rip it, you know. And that'll be our approach. I mean, hey, he's got this calm demeanor that I think suits him well. He's played in big games, college, and you know, I said this at the start of the season. I felt like our two was inside the best 32, and I think everyone feels that way, but that's why that sign was important.
See, I would disagree with his, last statement there. I don't think that everyone thinks their two is among the best 32.
I assume he's talking about the top two quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, he's saying that his second quarterback on his roster, could be a starter elsewhere in the league. I don't think that's the case for most teams in the NFL, especially considering some of their starting situations. So
I think he was just saying like our two are just like, he's just going to bat for his guys, right? Like our two quarterbacks are among the best two together. They're okay. I'm looking to get out of this right now, actually. So let's
stop. No.
He's going to rip it.
My only point in bringing that up is that he tried to qualify it by saying, I'm sure other teams feel that way too.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case. And he very clearly likes what he has in Jarrett Stidham, went out of his way to ensure that he was with him there in Denver. And Stidham was asked too about why it was important for him to re-sign and follow Sean Payton and this coaching staff.
I believe in Sean and Davis and Joe and in our room and being behind Bo and, helping him grow. And, I take a lot of pride in that. And, I felt like, over the last 2 years that I was here that, I got a lot better. And, I think, the way Davis has coached us over these last 3 years now has really, helped all of us improve. And, that was just one thing I wanted to come back and be a part of. And I felt like being here the last 2 years and coming in with Sean and, signing and everything, it's pretty evident that he's got the train rolling in the right direction. And I don't think anybody can argue that. And I wanted to be a part of it.
Hey, we told you Davis Webb was going to get another shout out. There with Stidham. In terms of the props for Stidham going into this game, 199.5 where the passing yards sit, the touchdowns at over a half versus what we typically see at the 1.5. It is minus 218 for him to have at least one passing touchdown. But if you don't think he has any, plus 170, that price for an interception, nearly $2 for him to throw a pick. If you think he plays clean, plus 150.
We don't really have a lot of sample size to work with Jarrett Stidham. You can go back and look at the matchup against your team in Week 17 when he was out here as a backup quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2022. 23-34, pretty good. 10.7 per attempt, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think in a spot like this, against a New England team that defensively, I think you can call them about an average group on defense for the most part. It's not like he's facing the Seahawks right now. Maybe if they win, that'll be next week. But I think he's good enough. And let's face it, in an offense, going back to the original premise of this whole conversation, in an offense that is not reliant on what Bo Nix is as a quarterback. They have run a system here that has worked with Bo Nix, but it is not one where if Stafford leaves, then you're kind of changing everything you might be doing. The offense might fall off. This is a offense run by Sean Payton that can do what it needs to do with whoever's playing quarterback. So I would I'd venture a guess that, again, the drop-off is not that big here, and that he's going to have his team in position at the very least, unless he's just, hey, there's a chance he comes out and melts down and is putting the ball in danger and throwing picks all over the place, and it's an absolute nightmare. But I don't think that's the case. I think we've seen enough of him to realize that, hey, he should come out and be adequate at quarterback. Will
be his fifth career start, first since 2023. And I said this to you yesterday. For me, though, play-wise, aside from teasing the Broncos up to double digits and just hoping that the Broncos, regardless of quarterback, should keep this within a 2-score game, it's just the thing that would concern me if I was betting Denver is just how like-minded I think everyone is in that they're going to be fine and that it's not that big of a drop-off from Jarrett Stidham. They're going to be okay. Sean Payton does a good job, has historically done a good job with backup quarterbacks in this situation. So do with that what you will. Total in the game sitting 42.5. Sean Payton, that is, would not address or answer any questions about injuries yesterday, but from a practice report standpoint, Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant were both limited participants at practice yesterday. J.K. Dobbins and center Alex Forsythe also limited. Dobbins is designated to return, but still on injured reserve as of now. And again, like Peyton was asked a couple questions about him and would not answer them.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to what you're seeing too, I mean, if you get like a timid stat line, 4.8 yards per attempt, something like that, about barely 60% completion. That's probably a pretty rough day for the most part for him. That's what Bo Nix did on the road against Kansas City Chiefs in a game that they won. So to the whole point of this team being able to do something here, I think they're going to be fine. And we've talked a little bit about these last 2 weeks and the fact that the Broncos defensively didn't really look good going into the last 2 weeks of the regular season and then didn't really look great defensively against Buffalo either. They had to overcome two pretty poor Bo Nix performances at the end of the regular season against the Chargers and the Chiefs who were on their backup quarterback. So I think that this team as a whole is good enough where you're catching 4.5 at home. And let's face it, I mean, we've covered a lot of Stidham. Drake May has not played well in 2 postseason games. Is it not fair? He's completed less than 60% of his passes. He's put the ball on the turf 6 times. He's lost 2 fumbles. He's thrown an interception. It hasn't really gone well for him either. So I think that there is a much more tighter gap here than we're giving him credit for.
From a prop standpoint for May, just for anyone curious about where his numbers sit, the passing yards total 227.5. To go over 1.5 touchdowns is around minus 105. And then to throw a pick, plus 108. If you don't think he can throw one, minus 135, that number. Also, we did get an update on Bo Nix that he did have his surgery. Officially, it went well. And as soon as doctors allow, he will be back in Denver with the team. And of course, we're talking about this Broncos team off of a win in the divisional round against the Buffalo Bills, who their leadership had one of the more interesting press conferences you're ever going to see. Owner Terry Pegula not only stepping in over the now promoted Mr. Bean to talk about Keon Coleman and protecting him, even though we've seen all the clips that have come out since that. At least he's taken credit for it in the past. So whatever that is, you do know Keon Coleman is still on your team, by the way, right? He's still got it.
Sitting there listening.
He's still there. Still your player. Neither here nor there. What really struck me was what he had to say about ultimately pulling the trigger on firing McDermott following that Broncos loss. Take a listen.
I did not fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision. If I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall year after year. 13 seconds, missed field goals, the catch. So I just sensed in that locker room, like, where do we go from here?
Bisciotti did this too. I'm sorry, but I just don't buy it. If he wins that game, you're not firing him the next week.
Well,
if they win the AFC Championship game, you're not firing him the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl.
And I don't know if you heard the other, like, some of his other comments about that. Like, and the reason that he answered the question that way was because he talked about seeing Josh Allen in the locker room and, like, Josh Allen not acknowledging him. And he said, that was a catch. And it's like, oh, so if that was a catch, then everything's great. You're back in the AFC title game and this is a non-issue. Like, it was very much so based on, at least in his own words prior to that answer, based on the reaction from the locker room, which what do you expect them to be? How do you expect them to act?
Yeah. Look, I don't think, and then judging by everything coming out of this game as well, or excuse me, out of this press conference and the way they're handling everything, it just seems like an absolute nightmare here. And the way that they're throwing Coleman under the bus outside, just in a way to then defend his promotion of Bean, it's an absolute nightmare. And we'll see. I mean, it's a coveted job outside of whatever's going on in this front office. So maybe, but this has been a clown show for the way that they have run this the last couple of days.
Like, I know he doesn't do very many press conferences, and maybe this is why. And granted, like, ownership only really needs to get up there for these types of major changes, but it was just interesting to hear how adamant he felt about stuff and how he went back and forth and how much he was actively protecting Brandon Beane and throwing that coaching staff under the bus. I kind of feel for Sean McDermott more now than ever, and especially the Bean element of this thing with the talent level. Like it's
not his fault, Stormy. It's not his fault.
How many Pro Bowlers did they have since Josh Allen?
Oh, well, Allen, if you exclude Allen, they've had two. Yeah.
But that's all coaching. That has nothing to do with the decisions that are made.
It's ridiculous. You know what I'm excited for? The World Cup.
As am I. Get ready to win larger-than-life World Soccer Championship experience only at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. If you haven't heard, this is pretty awesome, guys. One lucky winner is going to score a 2-night stay right here at Circa. You get a VIP cabana for the games at Stadium Swim and $500 in credit plus $250 in food and beverage. Giveaway details, go to circalasvegas.com. Enter now and kick off the World Soccer Championship at Circa the right way.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It was a fun night in the NBA last night. We'll see if we can push it forward with some more good action tonight on an 8-game NBA slate. And you said it earlier, kind of that rivalry week type of a feel. And tonight in the nightcap,
calling it rivalry week or whatever. I don't know if it's rivalry
day.
The
NBA calling
it's like
it
officially like a I don't know if it's a day or a week. Let me look it up really quickly.
Well, it wasn't just yesterday because obviously it's today as well with the Lakers and your Clippers going head to head tonight in the nightcap on Amazon Prime.
Rivals week,
where we are seeing
buddy,
the Lakers get a little bit of love here.
Yeah, I should have listened to my own advice. There's a lot of other picks out there. DraftKings sitting at 1.5, but it's about to flip back. So keep that in mind. Looking at the screen right now, I would expect that maybe the Lakers go off as a small favorite. I like the Clippers here, though. Look, we will see if Kawhi Leonard ends up playing. Maybe that's some of the injury news here. He's officially questionable. It was actually somewhat worrisome because remember, he had left that road trip, and you were like, oh, boy. When guys leave the road trip to go back to get some sort of rehab, that's not something that's great. But the questionable tag would open the door for him potentially being available. And if that's the case, the Clippers deserve to be favored on the home floor. As I told Zach today on I'm on so many.
You're just so popular. You're on so many shows.
Popular or no, never mind. Harvard Handicappers, that anytime the market, it seems, gets like the whiff of the Lakers being somewhat positive, right? They'll just sniff it right up. They're down with it. And so the Lakers were
come back against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Luka's playing so great.
Yeah, exactly. So over the last 2 games, sky's falling. Luka's a fatty again. He can't play defense. Everything's terrible. LeBron sucks. They win 2 straight, and all of a sudden it's like, Luka playing some of his best basketball, and now the market's going to make them favorites on the road. Shouldn't be the case. I like the Clippers here today, especially if Kawhi plays. Took a little bit of a shot if that was, but looking forward to it. It should be a good game. And the Clippers, very quietly, although people are starting to talk about it now, over the last month, Stormy, have been playing at a clip that has been rivaling that of the Thunder and others in terms of what they've done statistically. So we'll see if they can make it to the postseason. And to reiterate, I did add the Clippers to make the postseason at 2-1. They are currently in control of the 10 seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they've been awesome. Won 13 of their last 18, coming off a loss at Chicago too. So in bounce back mode, see what they're able to do tonight.
And that was a bad spot for them too. We should note, you know, if a lot of people are going to say, well, they just lost to the Bulls. It was the last of an East Coast road trip. Kawhi, remember, had been sent back, as we just stated. He wasn't even playing with the team. They had just won the night before in Washington. So that was very much a let's just pack it up and get out of here type game.
Our Hornets on the second half of a back-to-back tonight in Orlando, taking on the Magic. This is a 5.5-point spread, which has come down at a point, I believe. Yeah, Orlando at open was a 6.5-point favorite, so Charlotte getting a little bit of love here coming off last night.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. So I think from a numbers standpoint, just strictly, what would you make the point spread between Orlando and Charlotte? I would not make it this. I would make this a little bit tighter, closer to about 4.5. Having said that, it is a bad situation. It is the second leg of a back-to-back for Charlotte, as we watched them play in Cleveland yesterday in a hard-fought game in which they came all the way back and had a chance to cut a game in which they were trailing by over 20. So you don't really like that a ton. The market tends to kind of go against those teams for the most part. Like you'll see maybe like a point move against them. We did get the injury report today. Brandon Miller is on it, but he is probable. LaMelo Ball is questionable. That to me is, that's the, what do you want to do with that? Do you think that LaMelo Ball, who is part of this 3-person lineup, Con Knippel himself and Brandon Miller, that have statistically been elite, or do we think, well, he's been coming off the bench, hadn't played that well last night, does it really matter if he plays or not? The market's going to react to that either way. If you still like them regardless of LaMelo, I would wait, see if he plays or not. If he doesn't play, you can grab a little bit of a better number. I think, again, the number is wrong, but I've been burned too many times trying to play and spit in the face of some of these bad scheduling spots, and we've been burned a lot. Case in point, Hornets and Pacers a couple of weeks ago. Second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, but what do we say? Well, if you're a real team, you should be able to take care of the situation, no problem. They lost the game outright.
Yeah, keyword should.
Yeah.
We've also seen a big swing on the total in this game as well. Opened 230. Now the prevailing number 223.5. If you do still lean toward the under, DraftKings as a 224.5 at least.
Yeah.
Let's go to Rockets and 76ers. What are you looking at?
I laid 1.5 with the Rockets. It's 2. I still think that's playable. A couple of 2.5s starting to pop up here. Houston hasn't played well technically on the road. They have a sub 500 record, and they have been struggling on offense. But if you kind of dig a little bit here with the Rockets, you can see that this is a team that maybe has gotten a little unlucky. They're still a top 4 team in terms of net rating on the road in non-garbage time. If you look at their win differential, or expected wins, we'll put it that way, and win differential. So how many wins would a team with their statistical profile have on the road? Well, they're sitting on 11, Stormy. Their win differential is a minus 3.9. In other words, they're getting pretty unlucky. They should be playing much better on the road. So I think that's something that maybe the market's over accounting for here at this point right now. A little bit of a risk as well, injury report-wise, for the Philadelphia 76ers. We do know that Joel Embiid is probable, but Paul George is questionable. My assumption is that George is not going to play here today. So putting all of that together, I think this is a matchup that could work for them. The 76ers obviously have Joel Embiid, but even without Steven Adams, they have the size, Houston does, to at least throw at him. And in the backcourt, you have Tyrese Maxey. Well, at the very least, I have Amen Thompson, who's a very good on-ball defender who should be able to handle that matchup. And if he gets on to Edgecombe, that matchup as well. So like the matchup, don't mind the situation here either. think they've been getting a little unlucky on the road, so we'll give it one shot here with the Houston Rockets laying a short number.
Interesting game tonight as well in Dallas. The Warriors laying 5.5. We have seen money come on the over as well, up from 232 to 234.5. But Dallas coming off of that improbable win in New York against the Knicks that we talked about. The Knicks bounce back, but what do the Mavs do now in response to that win, taking on a Warriors team that we just saw them first game in action since the Jimmy Butler injury, and it did not look good.
Yeah, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit. We'll take 5.5 with Dallas. You go back to the game that you just mentioned, or the fact that if you sort through these lineups, the non-Curry minutes are going to be an absolute nightmare for Golden State, because now Jimmy Butler, of course, is not available to spell them and to stagger the two. In the non-Curry, non-Jimmy Butler minutes, this offensive rating drops to about 108 for Golden State. We're talking single-digit percentile there. They've been awful on that end of the floor. They can still play some relatively decent defense, but I think that this is going to be a serious issue for Golden State as we move forward. As we talked about potentially missing out of the postseason, this is a big team for Dallas. Golden State, obviously very guard-oriented and small. I think they're going to get beat up on the glass here as well, so giving up some maybe second-chance opportunities that'll work against them too. So I just think this is a matchup that kind of works for them. They're not turning the ball, they're turning the ball over at a very high clip as well. So if you're going to give Dallas the opportunity to get out and run, I think that's going to help them out. So go with Dallas. Now, if you remember on Christmas, this is revenge. You tried to bet them plus 8.5 out there in Golden State, and they couldn't get it done, lost by 9. So let's see if the Dallas Mavericks can let me down one more time.
Okay. Second meeting this week between the Spurs and Jazz. We saw San Antonio get the better of Utah 123-110 on Monday. They fell short at Houston, though, on Tuesday, now playing their third game in 4 days in Utah. The Jazz, meanwhile, coming off a big win, big performance from Keontae George the other night. San Antonio laying a big number, 13.5. What do you think? Are you intrigued by the home Jazz taking the points?
Not at all, because our boy is questionable to play.
Oh, so, Georgie Porgy is questionable?
Keontae George. This is what a good tanking team does. You have your guy score 40, and you go, brother, relax. Why don't you take the day off, okay? And it looks like that's probably what's going to happen here for Keontae George. He has a left forearm strain that has him questionable on this report. Larry Markkinen is out for return to competition, reconditioning, whatever that means. And Bryce Sensabaugh is questionable as well. So I think there's some different ways that you can look at this from a player prop standpoint, especially when you look at the inability for some of these guys to create. I think it was Collier who Zach Cohen had in mind for points and assists in this matchup. This might be a pretty good player prop angle there, only because if Keontae George is out, we know that Markkinen is out, and even if Bryce Sensabaugh, who's been scoring like crazy, can't play because he's sick, this just might be a Will Hardy game where he just goes, you know what, buddy, here's the ball. You go ahead and get yours, and we'll get out of here potentially with a loss. If you are... I did a stupid money line parlay today because I felt like I wanted to have some fun. So if you like some stupid money line parlays, San Antonio feels like a relatively safe leg here tonight.
Okay, the other 3 games on the way out here: Denver laying 5.5 in Washington, Chicago down from 10 to an 8.5 point dog in Minnesota, and then we've seen a flip of favorites in this Miami-Portland game. The Heat opened a 1.5 point favorite, currently a 1.5 point dog to the Blazers.
Yeah, lean Denver and lean Portland here in both of those. Didn't play them. I mean, if I'm sitting at home and I got nothing going on all these games, probably, but I think for Portland specifically, Miami's been all over the place. You beat Oklahoma City, you get blown out by Golden State, you beat the results have been left and right all the way around. Portland playing at home with a little bit of extra rest, I think they're going to be in a spot that they can get it done. Super try-hard team as well with a relatively clean injury report. So I can understand that the market makes them favorites here. I think they deserve to be. And on the other side, just really quickly for Denver, Washington, what an injury report for the Wizards today. Let's see. I want to read these off to you. You've got, Marvin Bagley's officially out, but the whole point here, Stormy, is that you've got 4 guys that are all listed with the same illness. So they might have some sort of virus going on through the locker room. I guess it's that time of year, as we always say. So lean toward the Nuggets with a relatively clean injury report themselves outside of Cam Johnson, Nikola Jokic, and Jonas Valanciunas might come back and play in this game, too. Reminder,
as we monitor all of these line moves, before the line moves, the Sharp Plays is already there. And January isn't a month about volume. It's about precision, especially when you think about the NFL playoffs going underway. When limits rise, mistakes shrink, and timing matters more than ever. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sportsbooks or full-time sharps on your own. But with Sharp Plays, you don't have to. Powered by advanced AI, connected to proven insider sources, and locked in on the postseason, Sharp Plays helps identify where sharp money hits before the number disappears. You get daily reports, real-time alerts, market-moving insights, all delivered straight to your inbox or X feed. And they've been backing it up with documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts since 2011. SharpPlays.com, trusted by the pros, monitored by the books. Stay ahead of the line this postseason at SharpPlays.com. More NFL playoff talk with Jeff Erickson coming up.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And then there were 4. Conference Championship weekend upon us in the National Football League as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Sirius XM Channel 158 on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And to dive into these games from a prop angle, excited to have Jeff Erickson back with us like he always is on a Thursday. RotoWire senior editor, host of RotoWire's Fantasy Sports Today on Sirius XM Channel 87. And Jeff, well, I know that you don't have a play on Jarrett Stidham. I did want to ask you the question that I think has been top of mind for all of us coming into this week with the Bo Nix injury news. What is your expectation for what we're going to get out of him against this Patriots defense?
Yeah, that's like the leading question anytime we do a breakdown is how many points is Bo Nix worth compared to Jarrett Stidham? I think it's 4 to 5, but that's just a guess. The books are kind of treating it like 6 to 7. And that makes it, and I won't do a 6-7 joke there because I have teenage daughters, or not even teenage daughters anymore. But I think the one play I gave out earlier is the under rush yards on him, just because the backup is Sam Ehlinger. I don't think they're going to do the RPOs because I think they want to keep Jarrett Stidham standing. I don't think they want to have to go down one more level because I think that would be even worse for them. Obviously scrambles can get you there, and he's not going to hold back in the heat of the moment, but I don't think they're going to try to put him in harm's way. So that's the one thing I like. I can't decide on the passing yards prop. I know it's like 199.5, I think last time I saw. Mm-hmm. We kind of went back and forth of that on our show today. I really don't know what to make out of that there, because I think it's going to be a lot of checkdowns. And in fact, trying to find like the receiving props for Denver because of Stidham and because of the receiver injuries is so difficult. Like trying to find one for Lil Jordan Humphrey right now, I can't find one anywhere because they don't want to roll it out just yet, because we don't know about Troy Franklin. We don't know about Bryant. Whether those two guys play or not, really, there's so many moving parts in this one. Makes it really hard to break down that side of the ball.
So you think RJ Harvey, though? I mean, we kind of know that he's going to have a role here. What are we looking for him?
Yeah, that's the one I did settle on there, is the over 20.5 receiving yards, because I think they will check down to him a lot. And all it takes for him is kind of like make something good out of one of those plays. And chances are he's not going to draw like the lion's share of the attention from like a Christian Gonzalez or anything like that coming out of the backfield. I think that might be a pathway to us finding something in this game from the Denver side of the ball offensively.
Meanwhile, running back seemed to be a theme for you in this game. I know you're looking at both in the Patriots backfield. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I'm putting my recency bias hat on here on this one here. I'm going in favor of Ramondre Stevenson props and trying to fade TreVeyon Henderson. With Stevenson, you could go the rush yards, or you could go the receiving yards, or you could just do the combined. And I'm going to go the combined one. I think it's a safer way to get there. I think they find ways to get him involved. It struck me interesting that all season long, they've thrown him more than I would have expected, that he's been the more effective pass catcher. Even though Henderson came into this league with the reputation of being a good pass catcher, you look at their body types, you think, oh, Stevenson, he's a 38. He's not going to catch a lot of passes, but he's had the bigger pass plays for most of the season. So I think he gets there with the combined rushing and receiving yards. Denver has really struggled a little bit against the run lately, at least in games that matter. We saw what James Cook did. We saw the Bills run for like 180 yards last week. I think that Stevenson will be very involved. I like the over 71.5 combined rushing and receiving yards for him.
All right, like it. Let's go to the NFC Championship game, because I'm curious. Sam Darnold obviously injured, only throws 17 pass attempts in this last game. A lot of that is game script. They were blowing him out, so they didn't need him to. But what do you expect from Darnold, and maybe the carryover? What does that mean for Jackson Smith-Njigba in this contest?
Yeah, and Jackson Smith-Njigba hasn't hit over 90 receiving yards since the last Rams game, but the oblique injury does scare me a little bit there. And I think it's not just the oblique injury. I think it's also just the way he's been playing. Darnold's been playing a little bit as of late. Mm-hmm. JSN is great, and he's awesome. I don't want to besmirch anything he's done, but he hasn't had those big monster games that he had earlier in the year. He went over this number of 90.5 as the receiving yards that you could get there with him. And yet I'm going to go under this time. I think there's going to be more shorter intermediate passes. I think the Rams are going to roll a lot of their coverage towards JSN, and I think he's going to have to find other options to beat them. I think they're going to and I know we struck out last week, for instance, with A.J. Barner, but I'm going to go back to the well on him. So I'm going to kind of fade the yardage total with JSN. I'm going to go with Barner, who had 53 snaps compared to, I'm sorry, that's the wrong tight end prop. We'll get to that. But I think Barner had two good games against the Rams last week, earlier this year. 10 for 70 in the first game in LA, 4 for 49 and a touchdown in Seattle. The yardage prop is anywhere from 26 to 29.5 receiving yards. If you can get that 26.5, do so. Go over on that one.
Well, take the low-hanging fruit, since you said that's the other tight end. I'm assuming you're targeting Colby Parkinson on the other side for the Rams. So what are you looking at with him?
I'm looking at the receiving yards again, 24.5. I mean, if you want to go touchdown, you could do that too. You looked at even last week in the Niners offensive debacle. Jake Tonjes was actually the one guy that was effective in that game as a pass catcher. He went for 5 and 59. I think Parkinson gets there. He had 53 snaps last week compared to just 8 for Tyler Higbee. I was a little surprised at that. I thought that they'd work Higbee in more. He had in previous games. I think that means it's more Parkinson this week. And it's dangerous with Parkinson because he actually went under this number in the first 2 games against Seattle. I think they turned to him a little bit more in this one. I don't know what to do with Davante Adams. That number for Adams is intriguing at 49.5. But what we've seen from Adams, I don't know if he gets there. It's a good stay away from me. So instead, I'm kind of looking at the Parkinson angle there.
All right, what about Matty? Yes, Stafford has not been playing well, but what are they going to ask him to do here? What do you expect from him in terms of pass attempts and maybe some of his other props?
We've had 2 contested games here for the Rams so far in the playoffs. Even if he hasn't been playing well, he's been throwing it often. Even in sub-zero temperatures in Chicago, he still got over there. And it didn't. I think he hit the over even before overtime as far as the passing attempts go. It's up to 35.5 in this game. I still think he gets over that number. I think this is another game where he's just airing it out a ton. I think that's what that got them here. I think that's what they go to again.
I know you don't have anything official on Puka Nacua or Davante Adams, but given what we saw from Adams in this past game, and we know the volume that Puka has had, like, what do you think of their share and what that might look like come Sunday?
Yeah, Adams, he only had the 2 catches against the Bears. He got briefly was checked for injury. Did come back, had that huge catch on the game-winning drive. So there was that. But he doesn't look all the way back to me. I don't think we get the Adams usage that we saw earlier in the year. Although I was surprised. I checked out, just going through it, like he actually had 13 targets in the Carolina game, in the playoff game. Didn't feel like that when watching that game, but sure enough, he did. I think it's going to be heavy Puka again. I mean, why wouldn't you go to the guy that went 12 and 225 the last time they played? I think that's probably going to be the natural angle. It's a scary number to go with Puka on the over, but if I was going to go over on one of the 2, I would go over on Puka Nacua before I go over on Davante Adams.
So I'm curious, once these games are set, we will obviously have our Super Bowl matchup. And unlike these games this week where there's injuries and questions, you'll have access to these Super Bowl props really early, and you'll have access to them for a while. So how do you handle Super Bowl prop betting, Jeff? Do you go to the normals first, and then you try to get to some of the exotics? Do you flip it? What does the week and a half look like once these props are listed for you for the Super Bowl?
I don't get into exotics that much. I probably should, because there's probably some edges to be gained. Maybe with 2 weeks to do so, with having multiple opportunities to talk about it here on VSiN, I'm probably going to need material. So I'm probably going to have to dig into that a little bit more than I usually do. It's trying to get unique props for each appearance is one of the things I'm always trying to do. And with 4 teams, I found it challenging. With just 2, it's going to even be more challenging for sure. I'll avoid national anthem or Gatorade props because that's just kind of a guess, and I don't really care. It's trying to find something you care about, I guess, as far as the exotics go. And the thing is, you can probably dig deeper into like the special teams type of props. Earlier in the week, I gave out a Nick Bonito sack one. I think I'll dig more into the defensive side of the ball. I think that's something there where I think we can find something. But like even for the New England Denver game, like I tried to find something for Milton Williams, couldn't find anything in terms of a sack prop, because I think that might be something where you could gain something there.
Appreciate the insight as always, Jeff. Thanks for doing this. Enjoy the weekend.
My pleasure. Enjoy the games.
Jeff Erickson, everybody. RotoWire senior editor, host of RotoWire's Fantasy Sports Today, Sirius XM channel 87. You can also follow him on X at Jeff_Erickson. Reminder as well, as we talk about football, you know that football meets flavor with our good buddies at Omaha Steaks, the official sponsor of tailgating. And right now, when you spend $129, you can score 2 pounds of fully cooked chicken wings for free, plus 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Don't wait, spend $129. So easy to do with all the great stuff they have over at Omaha Steaks. You get 2 pounds of free wings and save 50% off site-wide on steaks and more. omahasteaks.com/VSiN. That's omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Minimum purchase required. See site for details. And just to put a bow on that conversation, we even yesterday were looking ahead at some of those hypothetical MVP and who might be in the game altogether. And I was saying Puka Nacua as somebody, should the Rams be able to find a way against Seattle at 15-1, seemed like an interesting one. What Jeff said about his receiving yards prop, dead on, said at 94.5. If you do think Davante Adams is healthy enough this week, 47.5 would probably be a low number, but depends on how you actually feel about where he's at.
Did you know that I created and got a Super Bowl prop posted at a book?
I did not know.
Yep.
That's a good story. I'll have to learn a little bit more. Would you like to share with the class when you?
I think we've told it about 1,000 times, but sure.
Okay.
You also owe me a video.
I do. We will get reaction to some other NBA potential news. We'll hit on that and more coming up.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We are closing out this Thursday edition of Money Moves, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Best bets coming up in just a couple of minutes. But something we haven't brought up yet today, which definitely warrants conversation. I know you and Zach Cohen got into it on Hardwood Handicappers today, which if you haven't downloaded and subscribed yet, make sure you do. Things have not been going well for the Milwaukee Bucks last couple weeks or so. 1-4 since January 11th, losing those 4 games by an average of nearly 19 points. And frustration, to say the least, is starting to set in, it seems, for their star, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, listen to him here in the locker room, and let's just let him talk first, and then we can discuss what's exactly been going on with the Milwaukee Bucks.
We're not playing hard. Not playing hard. We're not doing the right thing. We're not playing to win. We're not playing together. Our chemistry is not there. Guys are being selfish. Guys are trying to look for their own shots instead of looking for the right shot for the team. Guys try to do it on their own. At times I feel like when we're down 10, down 15, down 20, we try to make it up in one play, and it's not going to work. We just got to keep on chipping away possession by possession. But right now, I think we just don't get it. We just don't get it.
They need a real leader, Stormy. They need a leader who will walk into that locker room after wish-washy conversations with the media about whether or not he wants to stay with the team. They need a real leader. A leader who will not say whether or not he wants to be traded or stay with the team. They need a leader, and that leader is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm sorry, this dude's getting old. He's a really good player. It's fantastic. I like watching him play. This season has been a mess, and the season is starting to get messier because of him. He's asked the other day if he sees himself playing with the Bucks. In that moment, you can say, I want to stay here. In that moment, you could do it. And instead, what does he do? I just take it day by day. And then when he is pressed about it the 2 weeks prior about wanting to get traded, stop bringing it up. I don't know why you keep bringing it up. It's you, bro. It's you. You're not in a position right now to openly criticize this team when you are this really weird and fickle dude who wants to have his cake and eat it too. He doesn't want to be the bad guy for Milwaukee. He wants to be the dude that saved the city and got him a title and all that sort. And he wants out. He wants out. Just say you want out. But this whole thing hanging over the team is not helping anybody at all. And for him to constantly be doing this 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago now, he has this weird game, I think it was against the Bulls, where he dunks it at the end of the game or they're blowing him out. And it was this whole thing. And Vucevic says something about, well, maybe it's because the Bulls don't want to trade for him. And he's like, I'm trying to inspire my guys. Dude, just stop. This whole thing sucks. And part of it is because of you and your lack of leadership. And you can't then come out here. How about 2 days ago? He's asked when they get blown up by the Timberwolves. Hey, Doc Rivers said it was because of dead legs. It was a bad scheduling spot. No, not that. Not at all. Outright pushing back against your coach and media. What are you doing? And now you're doing this? Stop. It's getting old, dude. Just trade him.
Yeah, I think it's the whole, like, trying not to be the bad guy and saying, I never asked for a trade, when we all know where your head's at.
Your actions
it's very
are
obvious.
Yes,
it's very obvious at this point. The Knicks, of course, have been the team that has been most connected to him, where he reportedly would like to go. But, like, if and when does this happen? Where does it happen? Does it either way? It's just not working for the Milwaukee Bucks right now.
Right, and you're not. I'm sorry, but that's not a deal that's happening. You're not trading for Karl Anthony Towns. You're not flipping that and taking him. So that's not happening with the current construction. I guess I shouldn't say it's not happening, because we saw Luka Doncic get traded for a bag of chips. So like, maybe it will happen, but the likelihood is that that's not really the case. So we'll see. It's just the whole shtick's getting old, man. It's you want him the title. I understand it. You know, well, Slurpees are great, and I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo, and this is fun. They just ask for the trade, and let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's move on. But it's every day. It's every day. And Doc, by the way, is going to get fired at some point very soon.
I know what you're saying about the Luka comp, but I don't think everybody's Nico Harrison. think it's a little bit of a unique,
I mean, look,
a little bit of a unique situation.
I know the Lakers have turned things around and won 2 straight, but for about 2 weeks there, a lot of people were kind of leaning and going, you know, it was a really bad trade in terms of what you got back, but the logic behind it might not have been as stupid as people think it is.
Okay, let's close things out with the bets. I know you have a handful of them in the NBA, so let's go down that road. You cashed your Cavs ticket last night, albeit a bit of a sweat at the end. Let's push it forward to tonight.
It was a real sweat. Cavaliers -2.5. Boom, gets it in. So for today, we will add Broncos +4.5 in the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots. I can hear it now. You're a Patriots hater. No, I just think the number's a little too high. So give me the Broncos +4.5. In the NBA, Rockets -1.5 against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Mavericks +5.5. I will regret this one. Against the Golden State Warriors. The Clippers money line tonight got -110. Hold out. I mean, Kawhi might play, might not. It's probably going to float around there, but the Clippers deserve to be favored here, especially if he plays. And then how about this? Because I was bored and I decided to put this together. I want to be like everybody else. I want something cool to happen to me. Magic, Timberwolves, Spurs, moneyline parlay +102. Let's go.
Okay, let's get it going. Because I didn't have this on the graphic yesterday, I wanted to make sure it was at least in visible form for you guys. The 6-point teaser that I did put in with the Rams, bringing them up to 8.5, and I grabbed the Broncos when it was 5.5 to 11.5. But I still think at the 10.5, it is worthwhile just to have Denver be able to cover double digits. And then on the ice tonight, a couple of plays. I really did a deep dive into Montreal Buffalo. I think maybe it's just because the Sabres were top of mind with the Josh Doan extension that came through kind of out of nowhere, 7 years.
So I was thinking
48.65 mil, having a career year. We'll see if they can capitalize on it. All that to say, I think this Montreal Buffalo game has all of the makings of a really fun, high scoring game. And I hope it starts early with the first period over 1.5. It is very juiced at -150, but I think it's worthwhile. Both teams scored 2 apiece their last meeting in the first period. Buffalo on a 6-game first period over streak, averaging a combined 2.83 goals in the first period during that stretch. Montreal also with 3 straight first period overs in 4 of their last 5. In terms of the full game here, Buffalo scored 4 goals on Tuesday at home in a win over the Wild, 4+ in 6 of their last 7. Montreal, 6 of their last 7 at Bell Center. They've also played 3 straight over games, 5 of their last 7. Buffalo is a team that can score a lot of goals, but also let some in. They're coming off a 5-3 win over Nashville on Tuesday and have seen 8 of their last 9 with 7 or more goals. So give me all the goals here. If you are looking for some plus money angles, the Sabres over 3.5 is interesting. That's not an in-pocket play for me. I did, however, go to the prop market with Lane Hudson, one of the Montreal defensemen here. To have a point is -180, but specifically to have an assist, you can get -135 to -145. Of his 30 points this year, 26 have been assists. So I feel like that's the better angle here. He's got 6 in his last 3 games, which included a multi-assist game in their previous meeting last week. And I was looking at Panthers-Jets as well tonight. Panthers in a bounce-back spot after that ugly loss to the Sharks in Matthew Tkachuk's first game back. I thought we were going to see Sergei Bobrovsky in net tonight, but according to reports out of Morning Skate this morning, it's going to be Daniil Tarasov. He was the first goalie off the ice. So I actually think that might be a good thing. Looking into some of Bobrovsky's numbers recently, his goals against average since the calendar flipped to 2026, 4.22. And I know that is skewed slightly because he had a 9-goal game against the Carolina Hurricanes, which was pretty ugly. But even with when you take that game out, it's still 3.43 goals against average. So Tarasov, meanwhile, his last 2 starts have been wins, really good. Gave up 2 against Washington, allowed the Avs only to score 1 goal the game prior. Even in a 3-2 loss against Montreal, that losing goal came in overtime. So a nice little stretch there. I think in a pick'em spot, Florida seems to be in a good role and a bounce back. So I'm rolling with it. I think a lot of people are on the Jets today because they have been playing better. Connor Hellebuck has been playing better. They got out of their slump and have been on a nice little streak here. But I think Florida should have the better of this matchup. I was looking at that Jets win over St. Louis the other night. Even in that win, they were outshot 23-16, and the Panthers have been a much more high-volume shooting team lately. So let's roll with it.
I bet the game over.
Huh?
I bet the game over.
You just bet it?
Yeah.
Let's get some goals.
I'm riding.
Give me all the goals. It worked out well last Sunday. See if we, or 2 Sundays ago.
No, was that last Sunday?
I wasn't with you. I wasn't with you last
okay,
Sunday.
whatever
So it was the one before.
Yes,
last time I was with you on Sunday,
That's
it worked
correct.
out.
Yeah. So let's go. I'm down.
Yeah. I'm excited for this Sunday. Should be a good one too. Primarily a preview show. We'll get some live hockey on Sunday as well.
We will. It sounds like you're asking me. I don't know.
No, I looked ahead. We've got a little bit of live college basketball, some live hockey, but we will do a good job previewing the NBA and, of course, Conference Championship weekend. It'll be fun.
It matters not, because tomorrow I'm very excited. Amongst our usual guests, Mike Palm and Zach Cohen and Will Hill. Dave Ross, the great American hero, will be with us. Very much looking forward to the UFC card this weekend. Can't wait to watch it. Patty Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, among some others on this card. Looks like a stacked one. I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen. So we need Ross to come in and give us some bets to sweat for Saturday night. I am very much looking forward to this card.
Yeah, that'll be good. And we talked with Greg Hoops Peterson a little bit earlier about the college basketball card we're going to have coming up on Saturday, and we can preview that a good bit tomorrow as well, especially since I'll be out there in Lubbock for the Texas Tech Houston game.
You get a good one. You're going to get to see, like I told you yesterday, you get to see Toppin up close. Good player.
I was looking through all of his. He only has one flaw in his game, the foul line. He gets to the foul line a lot, but he can't seem to make it.
Very dynamic rebounder.
But like everything else, that dude's awesome. Christian Anderson, awesome.
You know who else
so
is
really
awesome?
Excited for that game.
Mitch Moss and Paul Howard.
Don't wear hoodies. They're amazing.
They're coming up next. Said nothing.
Have a great day, everybody.